This on Tuesday afternoon, but I'm uploading it, and you won't actually see it until Wednesday morning because I have to leave super early on Wednesday for my chemo. So I actually have some really exciting news. So I'm going to go over some of my test results, and then I'm going to go over what that means. So my CA 125 is now 98, and which is high. However, that is down from 1,000 in November, 671 in mid-December. At the end of December, it was 239. So today it was 98. So that has gone. Phew. It is 1/10 of what it was when they started measuring it. So that's super good news. And I'm going to get to what all this means. Is really good. And let's go into some of the other test results. So white blood cells are normal. Red blood cells are a little low, but that's to be expected after going through 3 chemo sessions. And HGB looks normal. HCT, whatever that is normal. MCV is on the high range, but normal. MCH is on the very upper end of normal, but normal. MCHC is normal. And okay, so my red blood cell count is a little bit high. And that's up from 13.1% in November, 12.6% in early December, mid-December 12.8%. The end of December it was 13.8%, and now it's jumped up to 15.2%, which means that my proportion of red blood cells to other blood cells are a little bit high. So MPV is in the low end of normal. Neutrophils are getting a little low, but I have them, so that's good. Nucleated red blood cells still at 0. Absolute neutrophils, I have them, they're normal. Lymphocytes, normal. My monocytes are on the upper end of normal, that's good. Eosinophils, let's see what happened with those. They're gone. Basophils, I don't think I've ever had them. Well, it looks like I had some in the middle of November, but they're gone. And absolute nucleated red blood cells, never had them. They don't exist. Anyway, so what my doctor went over with me is, because the tumors have shrunk and my numbers look really good, is that I'm going to have a chemo session tomorrow. And then instead of a chemo session in 3 weeks, I will be having my surgery. So I need to go to the hospital, and I'm going to be in there for 4 days. And get all the tumors cut out. So that's actually really good news because I'm making faster progress than what was expected. So you can see that I went to the Cancer Center in Orlando Health. Um, that's not a big surprise. That's where I've been logging in from. You can see it on the videos. So I may be uploading from the hospital depending on how I'm feeling. And so that's kind of a little bit scary for me. That is a long hospital stay. I've been in a hospital once before for several days like that. And in 2017, I went into renal failure, and that was a big deal. It was actually when they put the stent in, when they busted up the kidney stone, which was actually the thing that fixed my kidneys. That was an outpatient surgery, but the stent was actually a 3-day hospital stay. So that was the first time I've ever had to stay in a hospital for inpatient stay, and that was a big deal to me. So this is the big leagues. I'm gonna be all cut open like a turkey and sliced open, and things will be removed forever. They were not things that ever worked properly. And so I don't really have any feelings about it. I don't know. This this is really public, but I had PMDD before. I'm in my mid-50s, and obviously I theoretically don't have periods anymore. I have ovarian cancer, so I'm like, especially now that I'm in chemo, I'm like having one big giant period. But I was having periods, which I shouldn't have been having. That's that's the symptom. That's the only symptom you get. So if you're like my age, if you're Gen X and you're having periods, go to the doctor. And if you have a stupid idiot primary doctor like what I had that gaslights you and says that, oh, that's normal, get a different doctor. And that is what I eventually did after he got the results back from the emergency room, and he was like, "Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh my, I'm so sorry. There was a mass over your left ovary." Yeah, uh, it was not normal. Uh, and I have feelings about male primary doctors now. And I didn't before because I had the most amazing primary care physician back in the 1990s. He was just the nicest guy. He passed away a few years ago. But he, because of that, I didn't really have a position on that. But after that, this guy endangered my life by gaslighting me. And I told him, "You gaslit me. You know, I told you I was having symptoms, and you said it was normal. It was not. Now you're telling me that I have a mass. Are you sure those are my results?" And well, it turns out, hello, that was not normal. So, how do I feel about it? Well, I had horrible, horrible periods when I was younger. They were just. There was one point where I was on suicide watch during my period. It was that bad. So that is a word I'm not supposed to say, and I'm probably going demonetized, whatever. I'm not monetized anyway. and so whatever. Um, there's I'll have to go through and like probably bleep it out or something like that. But you know, my nose is running so bad. I have no nose hairs, so um, it was when I was 35, I was told that I couldn't have kids because of my epilepsy. So, do I have any feelings about it? I felt betrayed by my ovaries. That's really how I felt. I never got babies because of them. And I went through a horrible depression when I was in my mid 30s because of that. And my brother, who had Asperger's spectrum, whatever you call it, I don't know what it's called now. He was on the autism spectrum, and to say that he was functioning is kind of an overstatement. He really wasn't. He had a job, and that's he was functioning enough that he picked a career that jibed with his autism. I'll put it that way. And he was not a brilliant person. He was a little bit slow. And I'm being honest about that. And that was not his fault, and it was not, he was not born like that. My mother said he was very smart as a baby. They got in a car accident, my parents did, when he was in kindergarten, and he had brain damage from that. So, that may have, I think he had autism before that. But he put up with me crying about that like every day for about a year straight, on the phone. And that was really amazing that he did put up with that. That was after my mother passed away, and I didn't really have my mother to go to about that. My sisters did not understand what I was going through. I think he did understand it to some degree because he wanted to father a family, and he just didn't have the mental resources to do that. And you know, I think he would have been a good match for one of my friends. She was also on the spectrum, but they did not really understand how to pair up. And sadly, she unalived herself not that long afterwards. She had Aspie burnout, and that's a thing. That's another thing entirely. But you know, the I never got to have kids. I had terrible hormone things because of my ovaries, and then you know just going through that, and now this cancer could kill me. The fact that I'm responding well to treatment gives me hope. I think I may be one of the people that gets to ring the bell. And considering how advanced the cancer is and how deadly this kind of cancer can be, I'm very lucky, I think. And if I were more superstitious, I probably would not be talking about it right now. But this looks very optimistic. And so, how do I feel about the prospect of having my baby making organs removed? They can take it out because they've done nothing but betray me since I was 15 years old. Well, 14 years and 11 months. They caused me pain. They caused me emotional turmoil, and they, I was, they never let me have babies. So they can take it out, And they tried to kill me repeatedly, whether it was making me want to unalive myself or whether it was making me want to, um, just feel miserable, or whether it was um, giving me a disease that nearly killed me this past year. So they can take it out. I don't care. It's my ovaries betrayed me. I can take hormones if I need hormones. And hormones are not going to sit there and make me fly into a horrible depression or something. So that's how I feel about it. So I'm happy that they're able to resolve this faster than I expected. And, given the political climate and everything, I am very nervous about what's going on. I know that the, I've done some research on what is going on with that. See, I have two parents, and one of them, my father, is American, and his family has lived in the United States since the early 1700s, and my father is a U.S. citizen. My mother was not a U.S. citizen. She never was. She never gave up her Dutch citizenship. And, how do I feel about that? I wish I knew what kind of rights I had as a child of a European citizen when I was in high school, because that would have saved me a lot of money in college. I had a full ride at Boston University. And even so, I still had to take out a loan when I was over there, even with a full ride. And my parents forced me to go to Florida State University for a couple of years. Because even when you have a full ride at university, you still have to pay a deposit when you move into the dormitory, and that money is a lot of money to move into a dormitory. That's not paid for with scholarships. That's not paid for with student loans. Your parents have to cough that up. And there are other things that your parents have to pay for. This is a lot of money. You can't make that kind of money working at Winn-Dixie as a cashier or babysitting, that kind of stuff. You can't make that kind of money, not as a teenager. Certainly not back in the late 1980s when minimum wage was $3 an hour, less if you were babysitting kids from the synagogue or, church if you're not Jewish, So, that's, that was a thing, and if I had known I had those kind of rights and everything, I could have saved so much money going to school and everything. So I'm a little angry about that I was not told what I had, because I'm smart enough to get into any kind of a college pretty much that I wanted to get into. Not Harvard, not Oxford or something like that, but I I was able to get into the schools that I wanted to go to. And I I had to limit it to the United States because I was not told that I had a right to citizenship in the Netherlands. So basically, what's going on right now um, is they are going to try to overturn a Supreme Court case that happened about 130 years ago, where somebody who had citizenship because his parents were permanent residents when he was born here in the United States. This was like in the 1890s, I think, and so that's been a landmark case, and that's what that's based on. And the idea is to revoke Vice President Harris's citizenship. That's the whole rationale behind it. And if that applies to Vice President Harris, that could apply to me. I don't know whether it does or not because my father's an American citizen, but my mother was not. So rather than wait until I could get potentially deported, I don't know. I don't want to wait for that to happen, so I'm taking proactive steps. This is very ironic because I'm a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. So it's very ironic that I'm now suddenly worrying about getting deported from the country. It's very ironic. I had an ancestor that fought in the Revolutionary War, but I have to worry about that. This is a very weird time in this country's history. So I'm actually, I have contacted the Dutch consulate and I'm looking into immigrating over there. I've had too many things to deal with recently about that, dealing with insurance companies and that kind of nonsense and everything. So, I'm very relieved that I maybe can get done with my treatment a lot sooner than I expected. That's a relief. You know, I still have to continue my chemotherapy after the surgery. So maybe what I can do is get the surgery and continue my chemotherapy in the Netherlands. I've already checked into that. And one thing that happens when you have the Affordable Care Act insurance is that you must be working to retain your coverage. So I have been working the whole time while I'm undergoing chemotherapy. That's not easy. It's very difficult to do. And I'm not trying to play on your sympathy or anything like that, but it's very difficult going through chemotherapy and holding down a job at the same time, and that's not something other countries expect people to do when they're being treated for cancer. It's hard, and I don't have disability insurance. It was not a benefit that came with my job. I have not worked there long enough to be eligible for it. I believe you have to be working at that company for 2 years to be eligible for it. I might be eligible for it now, but you know, I that would not take place retroactively. So it's kind of no point in that. So there's just a lot going on and everything. So I'm just at the point, I would rather be near a lot of my family, and I have cousins that I grew up with when I was a child that, that live over there, and I'd like to see their kids. And, I have other cousins that I've never met in person. I'd like to see them. I have a cousin who's going through cancer treatment right now. I'd like to see him. I'm very close to him. I've kept in touch with him for decades, and he's very kind, and I miss him. And you know, there's just so much going on and everything. You know, I don't like uncertainty in my life. I'm somebody who likes to plan things in advance, and I don't like all this uncertainty. What's going on in this country right now? Will I lose my citizenship? Will I need to have my father vouch for my citizenship? He's quite elderly, and we're not really getting along right now. How do I prove that? Is how what if he's not coherent right now? There's a whole lot that I don't like, all this uncertainty, and I don't really like living here right now. I mean, I have a wonderful landlord, and I live in a beautiful house. I cannot complain about that. I I like the weather here, but there are just so many things that I don't like that are going on. I don't like all the division that's going on. I don't like all the hate that's in the air. There's just hatred, and I don't understand why people feel that's necessary to exist and complain and hate and complain about each other all the time and everything. It was not like that in the past. It wasn't, you know. And I'm very centrist on my views. And I've tried to stay out of the political things and everything. I I met Kamala Harris about 15 years ago. I met her, and we were both going through the loss of our mothers at the same time. I had to actually lobby her for some stuff for Chevron, and they sent me because I apparently resemble her mother. You know, there are things that people are much more similar, conservative or liberal or whatever. There's a lot more people that are in the middle on that than people that are on that side or most people are somewhere in the middle on that, and I don't like all this like demonizing one side or the other. I find the first lady very amusing. What she's doing it made me laugh, and I think she has a sense of humor. you know, there were things that President Trump did when he first took office in 2016 that I thought were unifying things. When he bombed Syria, that was actually something that Hillary Clinton wanted to do, and he did that. But there's a lot of stuff that is very divisive and everything, and I don't like that. And I don't see why people need to make their existence about hating people. It doesn't need to be like that. It really doesn't. And people get caught in the crossfire when they do that. I don't think that this country is going to recover from that. we just had the second largest city in this country burned down. And how we're going to recover from that, I have no idea, because people are so caught up in despising people that live there, even though that's a very purple city. They're caught up in that hatred. They don't want to help. And what they should be doing is helping people, and instead they're saying they deserve it because they are rich and liberal, and which is nonsense, and I see people saying all kinds of the ugly things on the other side, about someone who, like it or not, was legitimately elected in 2024. And I'm tired of all that. I'm just tired of it. I don't have the energy to deal with all the hate anymore. I don't. It's like watching the news and yelling at the TV. I don't want to put up with this anymore. It's being bombarded at me on YouTube, and I don't want to look at it. I want to I want to watch movies. I want to read books, and I want to celebrate holidays. I want to see family who don't think everything is a political thing. You know, I don't I don't want to be around family who think everything needs to be political. You know, if if you think that owning something that goes bang is more important than human beings, you know, any country in this world you can possess something that goes bang. You may need to join the military to do that. And that's the way it should be. My family on my mother's side has a very strong military tradition that goes way back. All the men in the family are military. That's how they do it. The men are in the military, the women are military wives. And that should not take precedence over people's rights, and getting obsessed with things like woke. What is that even? What is that? you know if you think that is some demon thing that you need to be afraid of, and I got an email from one of my cousins about that. I'm like, it's silliness. It really is. And I told that relative that I'm too busy dealing with chemotherapy to worry about that nonsense. It's it's not something that white people really, or we're mixed race, we're Asian and white, but we're mostly white. We look white. It's not something we need to be upset about, you know, and that's my opinion about it. I do have an opinion on it. White people do not need to be upset about woke. What is that? It's not something that's hurting us. If you're so sensitive and snowflakey that you get upset because your kids are being told in school that white people own slaves, there's something very deeply psychologically, psychiatrically wrong with you, because White people did own slaves. Now I am getting political. They did own slaves. They were very mean to them too. They forced them to stay awake until like 4 in the morning, and then they woke them up again at like 6 in the morning and made them work again, like for 22 hours straight every single day. That's in the National Archives. They interviewed some in the early 1930s that were still alive and asked them what they did. That's what they did. It was not fun being a slave. People wanted to get their work out of them because they paid a lot of money for them, and they made them work and work and work because they paid a lot of money. They might have paid, and this isn't like 1850s money, they might have paid like $1,000 for a slave. And that's what they did, is they made them work for 22 hours a day, separating seeds from cotton, rolling cigars, that kind of stuff. It was miserable, boring, unstimulating work. If you think your job is boring or whatever, you have no idea. And I've seen the videos. They are available on YouTube. You can watch them. And they interviewed these people and they filmed it so that it's there for perpetuity. You can find out what slaves had to do. And I think the proper politically correct word is enslaved persons. But whatever it is people were not nice to those people. And most of the people who owned them were white. Yes, there were some mixed race people who owned them, but the vast majority, like probably about 98% of the people who owned them, were white. And if you cannot handle that, you have psychiatric problems. And you cannot handle the fact that fact being taught your children, you have psychiatric problems. And, because it's true. That's not some kind of woke agenda or whatever like that. That's the truth. I took AP American History in high school, and I did so well on that exam, I didn't have to take American History in college. I scored a perfect score on it, and that was a Princeton University exam. Um, that in the 1980s. And I'm not even going to say late 1980s because I didn't take that exam as a senior in high school. I took that as before my senior year. People were not nice to enslaved people. They were not nice to people of color. The whole reason that we have a law that children of immigrants are American citizens if they're born here is because of how horribly we treated Chinese immigrants. That's another subject entirely. And, that isn't being woke or whatever. That's just addressing the truth. Woke is something entirely different. That's an entirely different subject altogether. You know, and I think, okay, if you want to know my opinion on it, Fox News is owned by Disney. And Disney set up the story themselves. Disney owns a company called Electronic Arts that makes the Sims. And you've seen on my channel that I make Sims videos. I do play that game. And they themselves have promoted woke. Okay? So, such things as a wedding pack, which didn't work. And the wedding pack had lots of bridal gowns and no groom. costumes. So it was all about lesbian weddings, okay? And, they really heavily promoted that to the point where it was banned in certain countries. And this has been an ongoing thing with The Sims for years. That's woke. So that was promoted by Disney, who also owns Fox News, which was complaining about the woke agenda. So they were playing both sides of the coin. So they were complaining about it, and they were the ones that were actually pushing that. So that's where that came from. They were creating their own story. That's what woke is. It's not. And so they created their own story that they were complaining about. It's not about teaching people that this happened in the United States in the 1800s and it was a horrible thing. And your ancestors may or may not have played a role in it. My ancestors did not own other human beings in the United States. They didn't. They fought to free them. My nephew, my younger sister's child, on his father's side, they are Southern, and they are Cherokee, and they probably did own other human beings because of where they lived. So that's part of his ancestry and heritage. I'm not saying that my ancestors were perfect. They did some pretty horrible things in Indonesia. On my mother's side, they did some very horrible things. I've mentioned before, my mother's family had money, and they were they got that from oppressing poor people. That's a completely different topic, and I acknowledge that. I'm not proud of some of the stuff they did. And that's in Asia. And I'm not saying that people of color are perfect either. You know, but people need to acknowledge what their ancestors did or what people that look like them did. And I'll say right now, there were some pretty horrible Asian people too. My own ancestors were Union busters in the 1800s. That you know, they were like the Rockefellers in Indonesia. So, just because somebody has brown skin does not mean that they're some saint. Just because somebody has white skin does not mean that they are evil. But you need to acknowledge what happened and tell the truth about it. It's not going to serve the truth by lying about what happened in history. You're not going to do any favors to your children by lying about it and saying, "Oh, slavery never happened." That's a lie. Slavery happened. And it was almost all of the people that owned people were white. So I've tried to stay away from politics, but it comes out today because you know, I see what's going on. I see which side won, and staying quiet is not doing anyone any favors or anything. So, this is going up while you're watching this. I'm gonna be sitting with tubes coming out of my port and everything, and I'm having problems with my port too. So that's going to be fun. So have a good day, and try to think about the impact that things that you support have on other people. You might be causing somebody to lose a place where they live their entire life when you support things like that. you know. And just because you love somebody or love something doesn't mean that they love you back. And I think a lot of people are discovering that this week, including somebody named Steve Bannon. And a lot of people that are like him. So, you know, a lot of people booked tickets to go watch the inauguration. They didn't get to see it. So, I don't really want to stick around and see what kind of a disaster this all turns out to be and everything over the next 12 months. I want to get my cancer removed, and, I'm looking forward to feeding ducks on a canal in the Netherlands. So anyway, tomorrow when you will be watching this, I'm going to be having my chemo. So have a good day. This video has turned out to be very long. I am sorry that I did get political on this. I really try to stay away from that. But I think this stuff needed to be said. So have a good day.